Festival in honour of Kate O'Brien, and it's absolutely lovely to be here in O'Mahony's, a huge stalwart of creative arts here in Limerick, and this will be the 42nd edition of Kate O'Brien Weekend / the Limerick Literary Festival. So we're really honoured to have you all here. We're honoured to have Councillor Maria Donoghue as well to formally launch the festival. But first we're going to have a word from the committee and those ladies who make it all happen every year, who really put so much work, research into the bursary, into the writers, making sure that we have an amazing programme that really attracts such high quality writers from all over the world. So without further ado, I shall introduce Marie Hackett, who is on the organising committee of the Limerick Literary Festival.
Okay, good evening everybody. So anyway, it was lovely. It's very nice to have you all here tonight again. 42nd edition of the festival, and for us the opportunity to look forward to another great weekend at the end of February. So we have great pleasure, as mentioned Michelle, to welcome Maria Donoghue, who is going to formally launch the festival. A few words about Maria. I'm sure you all know her, but she is an independent councillor for Limerick City and County, and having been first elected in the 2024 local election. And it was her first time running, wasn't it? Yeah, great. Maria is an architect, urbanist, and she presently works with James Corbett Architects. She previously lectured in UL and the School of Architecture, and also worked in Limerick City and County Council. Okay. Now, Maria is also an ardent supporter of the arts in the city, which is wonderful. And she was formerly the chairperson of Open House Limerick from 2016 to 2019. She's a part-time member of Anchor Chamber Choir and is on the Limerick Opera Festival Committee. And she's married with 2 kids. Anyway, thank you very much for having accepted to launch the festival. Thank you.
That's great, and thank you all so much for that lovely introduction. I swear I wrote it myself, you know. And I won't keep you long. I was told 10 minutes. I think I go to as far as 12. So I'll try and speak fairly succinctly. So look, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, writers, poets, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a great honour and a genuine pleasure to stand before you all here this evening to officially launch the Limerick Literary Festival in honour of Kate O'Brien. When I was a girl growing up in Loughrea in East Galway, I was an obsessive reader. I would read absolutely anything, much to my parents' horror, who shoved books containing darker, more adult material onto ever higher shelves. I regularly had several books on the go at any one time, each assigned to a particular room according to the level of peace available in that room. So the kitchen was busy, so it was for light reading, didn't require much sustained thought. The bathroom, however, was sacred. Peace at last. This was where serious, studious reading took place. We only had one bathroom at the time, so this habit was rather upsetting for the rest of the household. And if we think we have problems today keeping teenagers off phones for half the night, I had already devised a method of reading after lights out, by the tiny orange glow of the electric blanket controller. This was in the 1980s, when electric blankets were still not completely risk-free, and when my mother discovered my innovation, she reluctantly agreed, under duress, to leave my bedroom light on until she and my father went to bed. So while they watched Today Tonight downstairs, I was upstairs, present in body, but my mind in another time, another country, in another world. My high-risk reading reached its climax one Sunday afternoon in my very early teens. I was asked to watch a saucepan of milk that was heating for custard. Standing by the cooker with the newspaper in hand, I glanced up occasionally to check the milk. The article I was reading must have been riveting because, for no reason at all, my father suddenly snatched the newspaper out of my hand and started stamping on it on the kitchen floor. It had caught fire on the cooker ring, and I had been blissfully reading about Charlie Haughey, Garth Fitzgerald, possibly even Terry Keane, completely oblivious to the newspaper going up in flames in my hands. So reading has always been really important to me, and that's why it's important for me, I feel, to be here tonight and to express how important reading is. But while I was almost setting fire to kitchens in County Galway, Kate O'Brien had already set the world on fire in early 20th century Ireland. Through her writing, she tackled subjects that polite society preferred to keep out of sight. Women's autonomy, adultery, sexuality, all framed against the controlling forces of family, religion and social expectation that conservative Catholic Ireland dripped with at the time. Her work repeatedly centres on individuals who refuse to bend quietly, insisting on inner freedom even when outward conformity is demanded. She also confronted the rise of fascism, framing it as another version of the same struggle, the individual conscience pushing it back against authoritarian rule, and how we need those voices today when we see what is happening. It seems that history repeats itself. Kate O'Brien was born in 1897 to a Catholic bourgeois family in Mulgrave Street, Limerick, in the grand townhouse known as Brew House. I'm sure she needs no great introduction, but I will just talk about her briefly for those who aren't too familiar with her. I remember the first time I passed her house with my husband, my then boyfriend, during a visit to Limerick in the early noughties. The fine stonework and the decorative timber gates caught my eye, and I asked him, wow, what is that place? He told me it was vacant, that the writer Kate O'Brien had been born there, and I was really impressed with the home's elegance, but quietly saddened. Well, actually, not that quietly saddened. Saddened that it sat idle, its potential slipping away year by year, and that continues. I'm nearly 20 years in Limerick, and it's still not doing much, not fulfilling its potential. It would be entirely fitting for Brew House to become a writer's centre or a writer's residence, a living, working space that honours Kate O'Brien, not as a safely historic figure in the past, but as a writer who believed in intellectual freedom, creative risk, and moral courage. This is something that I hope I will be able to pursue with the local authority and the Arts Council. We cannot afford to treat the physical origins of our most radical creative voices as disposable. We have already seen how easily this can happen. Links to Frank McCourt, another of Limerick's great sons, have in some cases been reduced to brief stopping points on walking tours. And thank God for those walking tours, because without them, even these fragile connections between place and creativity might already have slipped from public memory altogether. Kate O'Brien deserves more than a plaque or a passing mention. Her legacy demands attention, care, and, true to her spirit, a refusal to let silence have the final word. Kate herself described Brew House as ugly, the home of a bourgeois, sheltered and happy childhood. I wonder if she too was ever asked to watch milk heating for custard in that house. But her early life was far from carefree. Her mother died when she was 5, and her father sent her to board at Lord Hill Convent with her 3 older sisters, and she became the school's youngest boarder. After her father's death in 1916, a county council funded scholarship enabled her to attend UCD, and with her family's fortunes in decline, and as one of 10 siblings navigating life as an orphan, the sale of Brew House in 1918 marked both a literal and symbolic loss for her. Kate O'Brien graduated in English and French and left Dublin to travel first to London, where she was a journalist for the Sphere and the Manchester Guardian, and then on to Bilbao, a place that remained close to her heart throughout her life. In Bilbao, she began writing fiction, moving between genres: plays, essays, short stories, and journalism. Her first play, Distinguished Villa, performed in 1926 at the Aldwych Theatre, was met with acclaim. I understand it was written as a bet with a friend that she could write a play within a very short time frame. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, she won the bet, I'd say. From this point, she commits herself to writing full-time. Her first novel, Without My Cloak, in 1931, charted the lives of a middle-class family from Mellick, her fictional Limerick. And it won both the Hawthornden and James Tate Black Memorial Prizes that year. It was a huge literary feat. Kate explored themes of women's sexuality, freedom to love, social autonomy and political liberation, challenging the norms of conservative Ireland. Two of her novels were banned by the Irish Censorship Board, Mary Lavelle from 1936 and The Land of Spices in 1941. In The Anteroom, which she wrote in 1934, she critiques how women's opportunities had declined since the establishment of the Irish Free State. And she represented us back to ourselves, a reminder that progress is never linear. And I really believe this is a lesson still relevant today. With who are we celebrating and what are we promoting? Her later career included international recognition. That Lady, which became known as For One Sweet Grape in America, was staged on Broadway in 1949 and was adapted as a motion picture in 1955, for which she wrote the screenplay. So she was a Renaissance woman, she really was. And from Limerick to the world stage, Kate O'Brien demonstrated the power of curiosity, imagination and courage. Not bad for a girl from Mulgrave Street. Moving to Roundstone in Connemara in 1950, she wrote a biography of Teresa of Avila and another novel, The Flower of the May, before returning to England in 1960. And in 1962, she published the travelogue My Ireland, reflecting on her homeland. Of Limerick, she wrote, "The freest spirit must have some birthplace, some innate passion by which to judge it. Modestly, I say the same for my relationship with Limerick. It was there that I began to view the world and to develop the same passion by which to judge it. Wherever I am, it is still from Limerick that I make my surmises." And I think it's a really powerful line. I suspect Kate O'Brien never truly left Limerick. The city shaped her imagination and Mellick became the world of her fiction. Her words remind us that home is both grounding and a launching pad for creativity. As you heard earlier, I am an architect, and when you get a really good project on, you get the opportunity to study the DNA of a place. And that's like the streets, the buildings, the materials that make them, the lives within them, how people move through and occupy those spaces. And I think writers do something similar, but from the inside out, where we look at the external world, they look at what's within. They expand on the lives lived within these physical spaces. They make the interior world tangible and legible to the external world. And Kate O'Brien's work, rooted in Limerick, achieves exactly this. When I was studying for a postgraduate degree in London, one of my lecturers, who in her day job was a city branding consultant, explained to us one day about how truly successful city branding celebrates something rooted, something unique about a place. To illustrate, she spoke of Hay-on-Wye, a small town on the English-Welsh border, home to one of the UK's most renowned literary festivals. She had been part of the team that helped develop this festival in the 1980s, and during her investigations, she discovered that Hay-on-Wye, a very small town, the Loughrea, we'll say, of the west of England, it had the highest number of bookshops per capita in England. No one could explain why. Sometimes I think I should have been sent there as a child from Loughrea to spare my parents the chaos they had to live with. But Hay-on-Wye was a town that genuinely loved books. And from that love, this incredible festival was born. It came from the place, and so it succeeds. And just as Hay on Wise Festival grew from a community's passion, the Limerick Literary Festival is rooted in integrity. It celebrates the city's writers, the legacy voices, the contemporary voices, and especially the new voices, the voices that are breaking through. This festival gives young writers the space and opportunity to be heard. It continues to flourish under the dedicated guidance of Eileen O'Connor, Marie Hackett, and Vivian McKechnie, and Ella Daly as well. I would like to thank Bill Whelan and his wife Denise Quinn for generously sponsoring the Female Novelist Award, a unique category in a literary festival, and also O'Mahony's Bookshop for their ongoing support. Without such commitment and dedication from all spectres, festivals like this simply they can't continue. We are living in an era where truth is routinely dismissed as fake news. Committed loyalties cannot be relied on, and threats of war are genuinely looming across the globe. And this is why people like Kate O'Brien matter. They are beacons of truth in a dark fog of marketing, spin, and public relations. It takes courage, it takes self-belief, and perhaps a touch of madness to stand in that light. Reading creates the depth of mind that allows us to be fearless. It expands our imaginations beyond our own lived experience, while still reminding us of where we came from. In a lighthouse in the dark fog, it can come from anywhere, from the tiny orange glow of an electric blanket controller through a discovery of the fearless rule-breaking worlds of Kate O'Brien here in Limerick, and in the contemporary writers we see and the emerging voices we hear at the Limerick Literary Festival. We see how a single writer can inspire generations of readers who are unafraid to question, to imagine, and to challenge convention, and to even bend the rules a little themselves. Kate O'Brien's work reminds us that curiosity and creativity are boundless, that literature is not merely an escape, but a call to think, to feel, and to act with integrity in a complex world. And it is my great pleasure to officially launch the 42nd Limerick Literary Festival in honour of Kate O'Brien, whose words continue to light the way for us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, for that wonderful launch, that wonderful talk on why festivals, on why books, on why reading is important, and where it starts, whether it is in the kitchen or wherever it is, but reading and books are what enthusiasm and that kind of enthusiasm that brings us together, and that inspires us to keep going. So my job is just to take you through effectively what you can expect on the programme for the 2026 Limerick Literary Festival in honour of Kate O'Brien. Okay, we used to call it the Kate O'Brien Weekend, and now putting Limerick in the picture, it was actually Colin McCann that a number of years back suggested actually put Limerick into the title of it, and since then we have, so we call it now the Limerick Literary Festival in honour of Kate O'Brien. So it's in its 42nd year, which really is, I suppose, proof that we must be doing something right. And this year, okay, it will run from February the 27th to March the 1st. And it will kick off with 2 free events on Friday, March the 27th. I'm going to read from this because I have a notion of how the programme falls out in a linear fashion going from Friday all the way to Sunday. So there's 2 free events on Friday, and the first one is Gustav Parker Hibbett, who will be in conversation with Niall McMonigal in the afternoon, and that'll be followed by an intimate evening of words and music as the laureate for fiction, Alish Niguivna, who is returning to the festival, and it'll be a conversation, she'll be in conversation with Limerick writer Sarah Gilmartin. Now there will also be music as part of that, and that will be provided by harpist Elizabeth Falter. The Eilish na Gaoimhne is the laureate for the years 25-26, and it's entitled The Island of Imagination, a literary tour of Ireland. So, and that will officially open the weekend. So it's a very full weekend, and it's a packed programme which will end with the distinguished broadcaster Miriam O'Callaghan, who will be in conversation with the Alan English, the former editor of the Limerick Leader. So over 3 days we're going to have poetry, literature, music, and it will feature novelist Muriel Barbery, who is a French writer. Some of you might know her, famous for one book called, well, many books, but one of them which might be well known, called The Elegance of the Hedgehog. And indeed on the Thursday night, prior to the opening of the festival, we will actually be showing that film. So if you can make it, it's a really entertaining and very good, both a film and a read. Then there'll be the perennial favourites, the Kate O'Brien Hour, which will feature a rehearsed reading of the only play that Kate O'Brien, the only play that she wrote, called Distinguished Villa, and that will be done by the College Players. Also on the programme, besides Muriel Barbery, we have David Park, who's also a Belfast writer returning to Limerick, Owen McNamee and Grania O'Brien. Also on the programme will be Professor of Psychiatry from Trinity, Veronica O'Kane. You might remember her book, which was called The Rag and Bone Shop, and it was about how we make memories and memories make us. Also we have the usual, our Desert Island books, and indeed when I hear Maria talking, I think we might be earmarking her for a future contributor to Desert Island books. Then we have the very wonderful presentation of the Kate O'Brien Award for a debut novel or a collection of short stories from an Irish female author. And the value of that award has increased to €5,000 in 2026, and this is very generously sponsored by Bill and Denise Whelan, as Marie was mentioning earlier. So, also, in addition to our usual programme, we have a very special event. It's entitled A Life of Her Own, and it's reflections on the life and work of Maeve O'Brien Kelly, writer and a feminist activist, advocate for the voiceless, also known as one of the founders of Adapt House, the refuge for domestic abuse. So really, as they used to say, there really is something for everybody in the audience. And the final thing I have to say is to thank the Arts Council for their generous support, for Limerick City and County Council, Festival and Events, and the Arts Office, the French Embassy in Ireland, RTE supporting the arts, and O'Mahony's Booksellers. And also all of you who have made it, possible for us to reach 42 years of Kate O'Brien again. In fact, you are the reason why we are able to continue. So we look forward to seeing you all on February the 27th in the Bell Table, and thank you for coming this evening.
Just to welcome everyone. I really like the image, Marie, of yourself reading books under highly dangerous electric lights, living life on the edge. But it's incredible how books and words and stories have such power, power to inspire, power to ignite dreams, creativity, to form our personalities, and we're living in an age, I think, at the moment where it's somewhat at risk of dampening with the ease of scrolling and doom scrolling, as they call it, and sort of social media and all of that. So festivals like this are just so incredibly important for keeping the culture of reading and the culture of literature strong in Limerick and all over Ireland. Kate O'Brien herself was someone who personified that more than anyone, and someone who for so many years was an inspiration to authors and readers alike. And I can imagine her possibly here getting her own school books many moons ago, and from there she went on to be such an important part of the literary landscape of all of Ireland. O'Mahony is just so incredibly proud to be part of that, and to be hosting the event here this evening, and also to be part of the event itself down the road. So thank you all so much for coming here tonight. Congratulations to the committee and everyone who's part of this in their 42nd year. It's an incredible achievement to take it this far. So well done to everyone involved, and thank you very much.
That's it. Enjoy, and I hope to see you at the Literary Festival on the 27th of February.